So the linga is a very basic shape or form which retains maximum reverberation for long durations. The ellipsoid is the basic form in the existence which you will see the solar system. Somewhere when the yogis reached that state within them, they saw their energy system itself becoming ellipsoid. Like Mahavatar Babaji, who appear for the last 10,000 years, they have been appearing and giving dikshas for whoever needs. Mahavatar Babaji is called as a Nirmanakaya.
You think Saptarishis had a role in creating the pyramids?
Yes, definitely. Kayakalpa just means that Kaya means body. They have crystallized it or made their body immortal. It's an energy immortality that you can shed your body at will, so you can stay in that same state without going into the Pitru Loka. Once they have mastered the 5 elements of their system, Vallala kept his whole body covered in white cloth because he became transparent in between. People got scared, freaked out. It's a see-through body. Because his sadhana became so intense that his body started getting into that light body.
About 81% of the Indians have reported having some kind of a shrine or a temple in their homes. Viewers would really like to know, how does one build a temple at home?
The main door of your house is the you should always weekly once light a lamp. Otherwise, tamas starts building up. Friday, either morning or evening, you do kind of a fire bath for your house.
Mr. Prem KV is a cultural storyteller and dharmic researcher with over 25 years immersed in spiritual discipline. A former brahmachari of 11 years, he left a scientific career in Australia to pursue monkhood, sadhana, followed by seva in an Indian ashram for over 15 years. With over more than 5 million views across platforms, his acclaimed series on Sadguru Sri Brahma, Himalayan temples and indigenous traditions have inspired thousands to reconnect with Sanatan Dharma, raising over $300,000 for temple revival and community engagement.
All Indian temples are kshetras.
Yes. A kshetra is created for a specific purpose. If I need education, if I want to study well, I need to go to Saraswati temple. If I have fear, depression, then I need to go to a Bhairav temple.
What is the correct technique to do the parikrama? Because every gods and goddesses have different number of parikramas. In a Shiva temple, you circumambulate only half.
When you finish the circumambulation, men are supposed to do the Shashtanga Namaskar because the whole body has to touch the ground. Men are supposed to remove their shirts. Prana has to be imbibed in every possible way.
I want to ask you about preparations before entering a temple.
If it's a Vishnu temple, Tulsi will be there. If it is a Shiva temple, Bilva Patra will be there. Ultimately, when you reach the Garbhagriha,
the founder of the Indigenous Cultures Revival Project in the United States, Prem Anna, continues his work through research, workshops and his forthcoming documentary on Maharishi Agastya. We are honored to welcome Mr. Prem KV to the Body To Beiing podcast.
Can you give us one technique to fulfill their Sankalpa?
if the right kind of rituals are done with lemon, then it will be equivalent to doing a rooster sacrifice. If you do the right kind of rituals with coconut and then you break it, it will be like sacrificing a goat. And an ash god, if you do the right kind of rituals and then break it, it's like doing a human sacrifice.
Just like in a Shamshan Ghat, you have beings, right? Disembodied beings. Even around a temple or consecrated places, you have beings.
Yes.
About 71% of Indians have reported visiting a temple at least once a month. And about 81% have said that they have some kind of a shrine, altar, or temple at home. Now, we all know that there are lots of benefits associated with visiting a sacred or a consecrated space such as a temple. Either it is a public temple or a private temple that you build at home, such as it increases the human alpha brain wave, it improves neuroplasticity, it helps to lower heart rate, it helps with emotional regulations and several others. But very few people know how to approach a temple accurately. What are the preparations like? What do you do when you actually visit a temple? What are the kind of rituals or offerings that are made? How is a parikrama done? How is a darshan done? And finally, how do you build a temple in your home? What is the process like? Do watch the video till the end, and if you haven't already, do consider subscribing because 80% of our viewers don't. Namaskaram, Mr. Prem KV.
Namaskaram, Shloka.
Welcome to Body To Beiing.
Thanks for having me.
So, Anna, when we were doing our research, we learned that about 71% Indians go to temples at least once in a month. So, to begin with, what should I do when I enter a temple?
So, I would first shift that term temple to kshetra. Why? Because a kshetra means an energy field. A temple could translate roughly as a place of worship. And kshetras are never used as a place of worship. It's an energy center. So that understanding we need to shift initially before knowing why should I go to a temple and how can I make use of it. So a kshetra is created for a specific purpose. Purpose being, okay, I want wealth. Then you go to a specific kshetra designed to give you wealth. If I need education, if I want to study well, some vidya I need to get, then I need to go to Saraswati temple. If I have fear, depression, then I need to go to a Bhairav temple to get rid of that fear. So specific spaces which are designed so that when an individual walks into the space, he is dispelled of that and what is needed to be given is given to them. So this is why kshetras are created. A kshetra means it's an energy field.
Anna, I want to ask you about preparations before entering a temple because like we've established, when you enter a temple, it's just not about visiting a place, it's about entering an energized space. And there have been lots of scientific journals which have talked about the importance of preparation. For example, when you're removing your footwear and, exposing the bare skin of your soul to the ground, there is transference of free electrons. Similarly, bathing is leading to a certain neurosensory priming. You're able to receive the divine grace better. So please take us through a step-by-step process of what kind of preparations are to be done in order to receive the divine better.
For a commoner who just goes, anybody, who is watching this, first is physical cleanliness, take a bath. If there are certain temples where in the temple itself there is a provision for taking bath, that would be the best because having your body wet is very ideal for receiving the prana. Taking the right offering. Of course, the right offering only will be sold outside the temple. If it's a Vishnu temple, Tulsi will be there. If it is a Shiva temple, Bilva Patra will be there. Ganesha temple, Dhruva grass will be there. Taking that with the right attitude. Like when you take that itself, don't go and bargain for money and all that at that place. You are just taking that as an offering. And it has to be with your intent because you are not going to touch. Ultimately, when you reach the Garbhagraha, you are not going to touch the Garbhagraha. It's these offerings which are going to touch the Garbhagraha. So right from the moment you receive it in your hand, let your Sankalpa seep into that. Instead of talking to people or anything, go into the silent mode with your Sankalpa. This is why I have come here. This is the intent with which I have come here. When you receive the offering itself. Ideally, you sprinkle some water because that offering has been sitting there. So many things have been happening around it. That all influence is there. So if you know the mantras, then you recite, apavitra thing, whatever. If not, just take it, sprinkle some water, and then you take the offering. So take the offering inside, walk into this, watch the Gopuram. Gopuram has all the the iconography of that particular devata inside. If it's a Shiva temple, Shiva stories will be there in the Gopuram. So you're getting into that whole cosmic scape of Shiva. So you just gaze at the Gopuram and then you step in. Then the Stambha comes. So Dwaja Stambha, you have darshan of the Dwaja Stambha, and Balipitam, sacrifice all your ego, lust, jealousy, greed, anger, work, life, this, that, all that. Drop it there. Look at the Vahana. If you are in the yogic path, then you recognize what kind of Vahana it is and accordingly you tune yourself. If not, just bow down to the Vahana also and then you go in with the offering and then you give it to the priest, Brahmin priest there and stand there with folded hands with that kind of devotion and Sankalpa, why you have come here, and have darshan of the Vigraha or the Murti. Just pay attention to it, not any other distraction from head to feet. Just imbibe. There should be an imprint happening. It's an energy imprint, but visually you are just taking a physical imprint. And whatever tirtha is being given, whatever prasad is being given, or flower is being given, keep it as a part of you. And then you circumambulate and come and sit there with eyes closed. So
I have a question on parikrama. Just like there are various kinds of darshan. In fact, I didn't know that there was Alankar darshan, there is Arti darshan, there is Murti darshan. Is there a particular way to get the darshan or no?
Yeah, so the morning, right, from the first time you open the door, the previous day, night's Alankara is there, Nirmalya Darshan. From that onwards, then they remove everything and then they do Abhishekam, that Darshan is there. Usually when all the flowers are there and you don't see the Vigraha at all. So after the Nirmalya Darshana is when they remove all this and then you see the actual Vigraha. So it's a very small window, so people rush to do that, see that. In an Agamic temple, the inside of a Garbhagraha, there are no artificial lights. It's only live lights, oil lamps. So you don't see the actual form fully. So Arati Darshan becomes very special because the Arati is shown so that you can see the full form and you get a different imprint. And they are designed in such a way that the eyes and the facial features will be much more prominent when the flame is taken closer to them. So they say the Arati is done when the whole bells are on, the chanting is full on, and the Arati all is on. The Pravaha, That means the full emanation of the deity is during that time. So Arati time is always the crowdest because that's when everybody wants to be there, because the full emanation of the devata happens during that time. You will feel nobody can miss it. It's a very tangible thing that is there during Arati. Not just the physical, the sensory impact of it, but even the energy impact of it will be like that. It will be like full on. And then when the Arati comes out, you take it on you, because the aura of the fire which has gone around the consecrated deity, you want it on you. So that's what you do it with
How
the
many
fire.
times?
Just once is enough. Sometimes people do 3 times.
Yeah.
But you have to do it clockwise. Do it this way and then apply it on you.
Okay. What is the correct technique to do the parikrama? Because every gods and goddesses have different number of parikramas. So in a Shiva temple, you circumambulate only half, Ardha parikrama. For a goddess, it would be 1. For Ganesha, I think it is 3. So what is the correct way and how many times?
As you said, each temple they say different things. Even for Ganesha temples where I have been, they tell different counts. But the basic thing is to circumambulate. Now, each temple will have multiple parikramas. There will be one around the Garbhagriha, and then the first parikrama around it. If it's a big temple, there will be multiple parikramas. So they say ideally 1 or 3. It has to be an even numbered circumambulation is the thing. Now, we don't know if it is actually written down somewhere or anything, but in the Agamas, it's always even numbered when it comes to the such circumambulation. So that is what they follow. This is not specific. For Navagrahas, they say 9, because there are 9 deities of the 9 planets sitting, so they do 9. Navagrahas are a much later addition to the whole agamic thing, which is Vijayanagara times, like 16th century is when the Navagrahas got included. Probably they realized that we are creating a small aspect of the cosmos, why not represent the 9 planets also there? So probably, this is my assumption, probably because of that they brought it, which is always in the northeastern corner of a east-facing temple, where the Kshetrapala is and the Navagrahas are. This is finally after you circumambulate and come. In a Shiva temple, why do we not we don't do a full thing? Because they say that's where the flow of Ganga is said to happen there. So you don't cross over that. That is the story that is told. But scientifically, what is happening there is, when you do a Ardha Parikrama, you look at the shape what you walk. It will be a crescent.
Yeah.
This crescent is what is on the Shiva. Why do you do that? You want to become that intoxication that is Shiva.
Okay.
We call this the Soma Reka. Soma means that intoxicant drink. Reka means the line. So you are wanting to become that state which Shiva is in. You'll also have noticed that people see the linga through the Nandi's horns. Like this, they keep their finger and then gaze at the linga through that. So that is because on the Pradosha day, Pradosha is the 13th, 14th day, the Tithi.
Of the new moon.
It comes twice, for both the new moon and full moon. The 13th day, which comes is the Pradosha. On Pradosha, this is done 3 times, and that day, if you look at the moon, it will be exactly like the thinnest, because next day will be Shivratri, and then Amavasya or Purnami will happen. So that will be the thinnest. So on a clear night, if you'll see the crescent, and you can also see the black thing on top, the hidden part. That's the linga part, and this crescent is the horn of the Nandi. So they want to see that by placing their fingers on the top of the horn. So this is the crescent, and the dark part is the linga. And when you finish the circumambulation, men are supposed to do the Shashtanga Namaskar, because the whole body has to touch the ground. In Kerala and all, it's still maintained. Karnataka also, we go bare-bodied. Men are supposed to remove their shirt so that their whole body touches the floor. The prana has to be imbibed in every possible way. And women do the prostrating namaskar. They are not supposed to do Sashtanga. Women do the prostrating namaskar. So women,
why should they not do the Ashtanga?
Yes. So the prana of the place, the pratishtha of the place is not conducive for the womb. So you don't want the womb to touch the floor.
And I've heard this, that there is a distinction between the southern temples and the North Indian temples. So in the southern temples, it is said that if you look at all these major temples, right, Chidambaram, Sabrimala, you look at Rameshwaram, these have been established on places which are reverberating with a lot of magnetic energy. So first the energy was sighted, and then a structure was built around that. This is what I've heard is the case with South Indian temples. But in North Indian temples, a structure is first built and then the energy is created around that. Is that true?
Actually, both cases are in both North and South, where there are these rishis and yogis identified naturally occurring energetic spaces and built a kshetra around it. Or they just chose a barren land and created a kshetra around it. Just because of the destruction that happened, we don't have those which did not have a naturally occurring powerful space. We don't have much in the north. We have, because you cannot destroy what is naturally existing, right? So Kasar Devi kind of place, Kedarnath, Jyotirlingas, these are all naturally reverberating, and the rishis have identified it and built it. So you cannot deny those facts. It will anyway draw people, and it has maintained. But in the south, because the whole process, the agamas talk about how to select a land, what are the things you have to do. We may not have time to go through all that, because right from selection of the land, tasting it, smelling it. Let's say the king is sponsoring a temple, and he said, this is the land we need to build the temple. They go there and they do testing by tasting, smelling, and feeling it. The Stapati. Stapatis are the architects. Today's engineers, we can say, civil engineers, who even today they exist. They are a tradition. They are like a lineage of people. So I have met with a few and I've interacted with them, interviewed them. So this is what they do. And intuitively they know about this, but they do testing. They will grow a crop in a small patch of land. In that big, small patch they will select, grow, let's say, a paddy or a wheat or something. Every week they'll come and observe how it's growing. Based on its growth pattern, they know something is wrong or it's okay and all that. Then there is a whole science of prashnam. Prashnam means they have these cowrie shells and some calculations with all the 12 boxes and all that to know if, see, the millions of years, many things could have happened in this land. Animals could have died, people could have been killed. We don't want that memory of that land before we build the temple. So there will be a shuddhi that happens, a purification process. And then digging of the land, breaking the land, they'll again fix based on the nakshatra of the thing. And then they start. So the whole construction part is the physical part of it, the hardware part. Stapati is involved fully. It's so detailed, like there are 28 agamas for Shiva temples, 64 for Shakta or Devi temples, and 108 for Vaishnava temples.
What are agamas?
Agamas are architectural guidelines which talk about not just architecture alone. It's about town planning, water drainage, rain harvesting. What are the rituals to do once you have finished it? How to convert this building into an abode of divine, the Pratishtha process. Everything in great detail, and how the acharyas need to be trained. Everything is written in the agamas. We have gotten only bits and pieces of it down today, which have been, because we have been an oral tradition, right? So we lost many things. Some have been retained. So that is one way of doing the kshetras. As you said, the other way is naturally identified spots which are reverberating for a certain nature. So those are also enshrined, and they will build the whole other elements around it. The other elements are not important in a kshetra which is naturally powerful.
Anna, Agni Purana and Matsya Purana talk about the human temple mirroring the human body. And there are various such insights that people don't know of. Can you take us through that entire process and elements associated with temples?
So, as you rightly said, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahma, or I am God. Tattvamasi, you or that. This is like the essence of the whole culture or Sanatana Dharma, we can say. The yogis and rishis of the past, when they sat with eyes closed, they say they experienced the whole cosmos within them. Logically, it doesn't make sense. But going by the findings that they have given, like Surya Siddhanta, which talks about the speed of light, the whole Panchanga today we have, which was, the position of the planets, the revolution that they take, everything is precise. With all these modern equipments, we are getting to know, yes, it is precise. But they did it many, many centuries ago. Telescopes were discovered only 400 years ago. So how did they see? How did they know all this?
Higgs boson, I believe God particle was discovered 5,000 years ago.
Yes.
It's $100 billion research now.
Yeah. Anu, Paramanu, subatomic particles, everything they're talking about many, many centuries ago. How? So we know, because when somebody claims that they experience the cosmos, we don't know. But they've given a science and they've given proof enough that we cannot deny that fact. So they did experience the whole cosmos within them. But they would have gone through this. How do I communicate this to the masses? And why do they want to know? Not everybody is interested to experience the cosmic or the universe within them. But they knew everybody needs something. So they picked out certain attributes from this universe. And they crystallized it and created these kshetras. So to understand this, how this kshetra What are the elements of a kshetra? I'll go through briefly. I'm using the South Indian temples as an example, but it applies to it's a human body. A human body is lying down like this, sideways, and the gopuram or the entry is the feet of this person. And the head is where the sanctum sanctorum or the garbhagriha is situated. In between, all the other elements of the temple are positioned. So this is how a kshetra is created. Murti is created in marble, in concrete. This is not what agamas are the architectural guidelines talk about. So this was built out of pure devotion of a devotee to relate to. People need something to relate to. So for the form, if a kshetra has to be designed, it has to be of a particular material. It has to be of dense granite material. Granite itself has different things, but a specific densest form of granite is what has to be chosen for the murti, for the vigraha. In an agamic temple, the elements are very important. When I say elements, starting from the gopuram is the big triangular thing that you see with kalashas on top at the entrance. Major temples will have four directions, sometimes just one, the east. Go means cow, puram means face. So gopuram is like the pyramidal structure. So if you look at an aerial view of a gopuram, it's almost like a pyramid. One interesting thing that I noticed is Ganapati Sthapati holds a rishi as the one who gave all the agamas, and his name is Brahma Rishi Mayan. And Mayan is the one used in South America as well, who has the whole Mayan culture.
Oh, the Mayan calendar.
Yes.
Okay.
Eventually, we want to map that the Saptarishi's work is there around the world, not just in India. It's left. Even that is slowly shrinking. If we are forgetting for why these temples are being created, that means we are as well forgetting the science as well. So at some point, even the pyramids were created for the same purpose, where they were energy centers.
Whom do you think created the pyramids? Did Saptarishis have a role in that?
Yes, definitely.
You think Saptarishis had a role in creating the pyramids?
Yes, definitely. Not directly, but they definitely passed on. So in Native American culture, see, pyramids in Egypt are recent than the ones in Mexico. The Mexican pyramids are much older. So the kings in Egypt, probably, this is my conjecture, that they went to Mexico or South America. A shaman, a medicine man, an elder of a clan, identifies, because of his visions and all that, he identifies a particular child that this will be the next elder or the shaman of this clan. And then he's kept in a pyramid, in a small chamber. There's a huge pyramid. And in that, pyramids used to be layered with special crystals, gold plating and all that. Today we just see rocks. But it used to be. That's how they say. He used to be kept in a chamber for 6 months, 8 months, brought out for a week or two, again put back. Food will be taken in by this present shaman or the elder, and he will talk to him. It's dark. He just has a lamp there. He's talking to him about the whole world, the creation, mountains, trees, animals. This child has not seen those things, but has to visualize everything based on what is being told to him. Certain cognition is happening there. When his 12-year period is complete, he's brought out and then shown those things, but not connecting it with anything. He's just taken out to see these things. This person now recognizes and he sees. The seers, the word seer, what does he see is totally different from how we see it. Because right from childhood, we are shown the object and said, this is apple, this is mango, whatever. This child has not seen anything, but has heard so many things. And now when he goes and sees, because he has visualized many things, but the visual part is less, more of cognition has happened. Now when he goes and sees, he doesn't attach any meaning to it, he just sees. Now he sees something else, beyond what we would just see the physical part of it. He becomes a seer. He can see more than what the other people in the clan can see. So he gradually becomes the shaman of that clan. This part is there very much in the Veda Patashala training. The Brahmin kids who are put in 5-6 years, 10 years, they go through this. They don't see the outside world at all. Even today, they don't get to play with the gadgets that our kids are playing. So they go through this whole thing and they are supposed to come out. But again, there also the knowledge is being lost. The Acharya is supposed to come out as an empty crucible so that when he say avahanam, the devata should come within him. If you have seen Kerala rituals, they'll just do mudra puja. They don't utter a lot of mantras. The mudra puja, before they sit in the garbhagriha, they sit outside, first cleanse this whole system. Because they already made themselves empty, they're cleansing it. This is a daily process. Cleanse it and invoke the devata within them. They go into the garbhagriha, and do mudras to transfer that prana into the murti or the vigraha. So this aspect of energy wise, invoking a devata and transmitting is across everywhere in the world. So ritual wise, when I observed right from Indonesia, New Zealand, of course it came from Papua New Guinea and all that, you'll see the rituals have a common thing, which is Aborigines of Australia. Even they smear these white, how the Shivites of South put, like that the Aborigines still do during certain rituals. The spirits that they talk about, this is the indigenous cultures. And Saptarishis have a very great impact on the indigenous cultures. The sophistication happened when the Kshetras were built, but it is the same. When I say same, for example, the art of drawing column, like Margadi month, December 15th to January 15th, if you come down south, every household, women will be outside drawing these elaborate columns. A lot of research has happened in the West universities as to what happens in a brain when an individual is drawing these columns. There are few activities which makes the left and the right half of the brain, synchronized. This is one of that. And there is a whole mathematics involved, there is spatial configuration and all that. And of course, the posture of bending down and doing it. This is the exact thing of drawing a yantra, which is the chip which is placed in a kshetra to energize that kshetra. I'll expand this. A column drawing is a yantra. It has its own geometry, symmetry, and a function as well, because there are certain columns which are drawn on specific days. Like for Monday, there is a specific column. For Fridays, there is a specific column. The possibility of a person who can draw or create a yantra is given to everyone in this culture in the form of drawing a column. It's just that they don't tell you what. The subjective nature of, if I can crack that code somewhere, then I know what a yantra is. Because an yantra, the only difference or the major difference is the yantra is created with an intention, with a certain attribute attached to it. And it's drawn on a copper or gold or silver so that it retains for at least 12 years. But here it's every day. But if the woman can draw it with an intent, it still works. Like my house, everybody has to be well, no negative things should come into the house. If that's why there is always a chanting associated with it, which is not mostly there, but in Brahminical household, it's still there. They'll sing and then do the whole thing.
South Indian Brahminical houses, North Indian, it's gone. Yeah.
So I'm saying the indigenous cultures also had the same sophistication of what we call as the agamic kshetra. But the refining process, who chooses what to do in their life, accordingly, one was directed to that. Otherwise, the possibility was there. Similarly, when you take it across the world, every ritual, you will see an imprint of the Saptarishis.
I have a question here, Anna, that would it be right to say that all these mystical places across the world, like Machu Picchu and Matu Tipila, so there's this one linga, kind of a huge linga kind of a structure in Brazil. Does it suffice to say that all of these would have been knowledge-based passed on by the Saptarishis across the world?
Yes, definitely. It doesn't stop with Brazil alone. If you go to the Celtics or Celtics of Europe, they have lingas. In Ireland, you still have lingas. In Turkey, Middle East, you still have lingas in museums. Azerbaijan, we still have a functioning fire temple. So this whole thing is everywhere. If you go to Japan, Shintoism, this is the indigenous religion that we all had before the sophisticated rituals and temples happened. Shintoism is the same. They still worship the Panchabhutas. See, the Saptarishis got 112 methods. So Kashmir Shaivism also talks about the 112 methods. So if somebody has mastered on 112, there is this story of how each one received only 16. And as they were going out, Shiva asked, where is my dakshina? And they gave it back to him and walked away empty.
Right.
And said, now you're empty, all 112 will work through you. So there is this story about how the Saptarishis received this knowledge from Shiva. So 112 methods, it's too much to transmit. So he does 16 for each of the 7. So 16 into 7.
He teaches 16 methods to each of the Saptarishis.
So it's a transmission happening. He's just sitting there, they're also sitting, but 16 is being transmitted to each one of them. So many years passed. And at the end he said, now you're ready, you can go. As they are leaving, he says, excuse me, where is my Guru Dakshina? They're like, we spent all these years here, we don't have anything. I don't know, you have to give the Guru Dakshina. That's how the tradition works. Agastya Muni steps forward and says, whatever I have, the 16 methods that you taught, that's the only treasure. And that's my knowledge. But that's my belonging as well. So I offer this at your feet as Guru Dakshina. Now he stands there empty. He said, okay, now you can go. All other 6 also do the same. He said, okay, leave. And they're all walking empty of the knowledge that they had gathered. Now, Shiva says, because you're empty, now all 112 will work through you because you're empty. So wherever they went, so people talk distinctions about the Saptarishi's work, which Saptarishi, like Agastya Muni's work is prevalent in Bharat and the Akhanda Bharat whole area. But if you look at any other work also, it is the same because it's Shiva's work at the end of the day. It's the same imprint. It's these people came as vessels. If you, like in Bharat, a few of the Agastya temples, he's referred to as Agastishwara, Munishwara, a Muni who became Ishwar because they perceived him as Shiva. Because he wasn't there, he was just empty. He passed what Shiva's transmission was to them. People experienced him as Shiva. So wherever the other Saptarishis went, also people would have experienced the same way. There are instances in South America where they are talking about this wise men who came and taught them agriculture. They taught them astronomy. Who else other than Saptarishis could have done that? So this is there across. So yeah, Gopuram is that pyramidal thing. We just finished one element of it. On top of it, you'll see kalashas. Kalashas are like from here, you'll see it's tiny, but if you go and stand there, it's like 5 feet, 6 feet high. It is made of a metal, usually copper or brass, and it's filled with grains inside. The round part is filled with grains. Why this is done? This 4 gopurams form the threshold of the kshetra. The thresholds are the entrances into the kshetra, and these form like a dampening thing. Like you don't want the energy to spill over outside. Oh, energy is good, why don't we want it to spill over? It's just like electricity is also good, but you don't have to handle it in a certain way. You have to direct it in a certain way. Agraharams, or the houses which are around the kshetra, they don't want this energy to spill over into the houses. Because how you live in a house and how you live in a kshetra are totally different. The agamas list things that you should not do in your home. And there are certain things you should not do inside the kshetra. So we want a clear demarcation, and these gopurams form the dampening effect on the threshold. That's the entrance, 4 entrances that you have. So the kalashas are live because the grains, the navadanyas or the 9 grains and millets together are kept inside this kalasha and energized during the consecration process. So mantras are chanted, kept in a yagna place. It's an elaborate thing, 40-48 days, sometimes 6 months also the process goes on. Once it's energized, they go and fix it on top of this because this is the outermost energy. It's like when you walk into a mall, there is a air filter, right? Similarly, this is an energy filter that's there on the 4 entrances of the kshetra. You don't want energies or forces which are not conducive for this space to enter. So they act as that. In addition, there is a kshetra palaka. Kshetra palaka is the one who guards the kshetra. In a Shiva temple, it could be Bhairava. In a Vishnu temple, it is just a kshetrapal. And every Devi will have her own kshetrapalika or palaka. So this is the protective mechanism. A person who goes in first has to dip himself, take bath. Usually a pushkarni is there, water body is there. You take a dip. That water body is also energized. If you look at South Indian temples, there will be a central structure like a temple inside the pond. So that is also energized water. Tirtha kunds, these are there. Take bath and then you enter. The body receives more prana or more receptive to the prana when the body is wet. So usually that's how they enter. Of course, physical impurities are there, but energy impurities also you do. And then you enter.
Namaskaram, I'm Shloka. We've spent a lot of time in developing this product, which is the authentic A2 Gir Cow Ghee by the brand name Yogic Organic. We've spent several years to bring this product to you. My endeavor was to bring to you the real goodness of authentic A2 Gir Cow Ghee, and here it is. Pre-orders are now open. To order, just call or WhatsApp on +91 8493 863427.
And I want to ask you about consecration. So research would say that about 750,000 temples documented have had some kind of a consecration, and undocumented could be more than 1 million. Now, people often think of consecration as maybe just Prana Pratishtha, what recently happened with Ram Lalla in Ayodhya. But there are different kinds of consecration. There's Mantra Pratishtha and then so many others. Can you take us through this entire process for the viewers?
How does a structure which is made of brick and mortar or granite become an abode of the divine? How does the reverberation change from a physical structure to a divine reverberation? That's the process of consecration. Pratishtapana. Pratishtha, to establish. That's what it means. To instill something and to establish. So how does that happen? Today, as you said, commonly Pratishtha is used as a generic term for every kind of consecration. But as you mentioned, Mantra Pratishtha is there, Prana Pratishtha is there. There are Pratishthas where a Samadhi itself becomes a temple, where a person, a yogi, who reaches to that level becomes the Linga. So the Linga is a very basic shape or form which retains maximum reverberation for long durations. The ellipsoid is the basic form in the existence, which you will see the solar system, how the things move, it's an
Yeah.
ellipsoid. Even on water droplet, you see it goes into that.
Correct.
Atomic movement itself is elliptical in nature. So this is the basic form where the reverberation is there and the basic stable structure is an ellipsoid. So somewhere when the yogis reached that state within them, they saw their energy system itself becoming ellipsoid. So before they leave, they wanted to imprint their energy system onto something else which will stay beyond them. So before the temples came up, there were cave, rock cut temples. Even today there are many across the country. You will see if you go into that cave, there will be a linga which is part of the cave. So they left their knowing energy system into that and they left. So it's now as if that being is continuing to live on, whatever intent he had for humanity is still reverberating. This is how another form of Pratishtha is. So agamic is there, and this is, we can't say non-agamic because these were eventually taken up by the agamas and built parivara devatas and all that. There are many temples where the linga has a jiva samadhi beneath it. This is a Siddhar samadhi which has become a temple.
Like?
Karurar temple, the Kadapa Sachidananda Swami Samadhi, these are all become temples now. This is a phenomenon we find across Akhanda Bharat, that where a yogi lives, if he gives instruction that if I leave cross-legged, then you have to keep me buried underneath, close, fill it up with vibhuti and specific substances, and then place a linga on top and build a temple around it. Some people will just disappear. Kadapa Swami, 365 days he went into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, came out for a day to just, because already he had ordered a life size of his own form. He energized it and then again went back and left his body. So he prepared. So Samadhi is a state where they prepare for delivering this or transferring this, whatever they have attained to, into that physical form, and then they leave. There have been many instances like this where they have consecrated that way. Those also don't need Punar Pratishtha once in 12 years.
Why is that when yogis leave their bodies, some will completely dematerialize themselves? They won't leave a trace of anything. Maybe in some cases they've left water behind, right? And why is it that in some cases they leave their entire body and then that's made into a whatever Jiva Samadhi? Because we've heard of Paramhansa Yogananda, who kept his body preserved like for another month after he died. Like this process of leaving the body, some cases they're dematerializing, in some cases there's water being left behind, in some cases it's the whole of them. Because Kabir and Jesus, I'm assuming they're in a state of complete dematerialization. These are the two examples that we commonly know of, right? They didn't leave anything behind. And there have been several such unknown people who do the same thing. What's happening over here?
So, see, there have been countless rishis and yogis who never came and interacted with society, who lived in the mountains, away from society. They are also still contributing to the society. It's just that we don't know that these people are contributing. Some chose to interact with society. Some allowed people to come, have darshan, benefit and then go. Some allowed discipleship to happen. Wherever there was a committed discipleship, then they would fix how they want to leave. They may say it only few days before leaving, but they would have already fixed that this is how I want to go. Few varieties or few types of how they leave. Some may create an energy form, a Devi, and do a Pratishtha for that, and then they can leave. Some may do a Pratishtha for a Shiva Linga and then leave. Sometimes, if they are specifically from the Raja Yoga Parampara, Raja Yoga means the Ashtanga Yoga part, where Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dhyarana, Samadhi comes, where they have gone through Hatha Yoga and Kriya path, Pranayama path. Their body itself becomes the Linga, then they may choose to leave their body itself beneath the Linga, because they have attained a certain state of accomplishment, siddhi, where their body itself reverberates that way. So then they would instruct their disciples to create a cubicle below the ground. There have been instances where they walk into the pit and then sit with eyes closed and then they leave. But most cases they will leave and then they will tell them to be placed inside, cover it with ash and chandan and all that, and close with a heavy slab and then a linga on top. So that's one kind of Jiva Samadhi that gets enshrined. The choice of how to leave and what energy form to leave, either his own body or a Vigraha, is up to the Siddha. There is no standard format here. But will they come back or not will be known only in a longer span of time, who look back and revert. Mahavatar Babaji, because we know many people have experienced him, witnessed him, seen him physically, they have received Diksha, so we know. Others, as you said, like Vallalar, they dematerialized, never to be seen again. So, how and why depends on the way they have done their sadhana and the choice of what they want to do after they leave, which is, we cannot comprehend that aspect.
And which is the best way to leave?
It's the individual, the Siddha will decide.
Because I think maybe, I mean, this is just that when you don't leave anything behind.
Yeah, that's a perfect mastery of your
Putta.
system. But again, whom are you going to demonstrate? After you have lost all your ego and everything, you have become one with the existence. As a yogi, you are living. The whole contradiction, people think that a yogi is somebody who is, giving you things to benefit and all that. Yogi doesn't care because he has become one. There is no two. To care, you need two. A yogi has become one. A yogi becomes a guru, then he becomes a prayogi. He uses his yoga to help people. My grandfather used to tell this example. It's like a small twig is stuck in a stream up in the hill. When water comes slowly, the twig comes down to another, joins to another bigger rivulet, a little stream, a bigger river, finally to the ocean. This is enlightenment. I've reached. This is the destination. A guru starts swimming up till where he started. Then what other twigs are all stuck, he wants to bring everything down. This is a guru. So he knows all the stupidities that can happen, still takes the whole effort. Not all Siddhas do that. Once they have attained, they will choose to remain in that unknown space and do whatever they can do to the humanity. Of course, it's limited, but they may choose to do that. Some take that big step of getting back into the whole stupid, complex world and do all this. Rare few.
And a bigger sacrifice, I think.
So the mantras, cymatics, today the whole science of cymatics about sound and form. There are even, you play the reverberation through it's called a plate. You play that reverberation through that, it forms a pattern. The sand particles form patterns. And there are lots of experiments on YouTube where it forms. As they increase the frequency, it forms different patterns. Almost looks like a yantra as you change the frequency. So it is just a reverberation of a plate. But even if you remove the plate and if you create the necessary sounds, the yantra is forming here. It's just that we can't see it.
Acha. So this is forming a yantra right now?
Yes. What we are speaking is a cacophony of sounds. If we can have a geometrically designed sound, that's what a mantra is. So if we go on repeating a sound, it will create a certain form here. You must have seen, you must have participated in consecrations where you have been told to repeat a certain sound. Not a mantra, a bija mantra. Maybe the chakras mantra. But in a certain way. Lam, vam, skip one, go to om and then come back. Maybe go there and do something else and then come back. If you go to temples, you should watch this. In the pillars which are in the parikrama, there will be different patterns of snakes. These are like maps for future people who are accomplished to see that this is how I made my energy structure to consecrate this space. It's so complicated. Ideally, a human system has these intertwined Ida and Pingala with three. Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi and Rudra Granthi. These are the three Granthas, the intertwined
in
snakes.
The spine of the
energy body.
Yeah.
Okay. The energy system has these main two Ida Pingala shown like this in temples, which is the symbolism for the Naga also.
And the Kundalini.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the simplified energy system for a normal person who is working with this Ida and Pingala. There will be complicated snake patterns which have these infinities. There will be only two heads and two tails. But in between you will see different knots and all inscribed on pillars. This is to show this is how that yogi had made his system. His chakras changing, moving it around. And this is what you would have witnessed when you go through a consecration, when they are asking you to repeat certain mantras and visualize this pattern. Make your energy system different from what the usual intertwined snake is. That way when you go, this is what the mantra pratishtha is. Using a sound, you are changing your own form, energy form. Physical body is the same, but the energy form is changing. We are not accomplished yogis, but for that brief period of being a part of a consecration, we are told to repeat these mantras. So that we are benefiting from it and we are also synchronizing with what is happening there. Actually, a form is being created there. Just imagine this artwork is here. Before the artist drew anything on this, it was a blank canvas. But the painting was already in the artist's mind. This is how a Siddha is. Already he has all the attributes and everything within him. Not the mind, but within him. He gives birth to a Pratishtha or an energy form. He may use sound. If he uses sound, we call it mantra Pratishtha. If he just imprints, we call it Prana Pratishtha. But usually it's a combination of both. Next comes the Dwaja Stambha. It's a pillar-like thing with rings on it. This is the Dwaja Stambha. Dwaja means flag and Stambha means a pillar. This is the place where how we were nourished in our when we were in our mother's womb through our umbilical cord. Then that's how that point acts for the Kshetra. So it connects to the cosmic. So you will see there are that also represents the spinal cord kind of thing. It has these rings. It could be 11 or 21 depending upon the thing. What is inside is a wooden pole made of a specific tree. There is elaborate ritual as to how you should select the tree and cut and bring it there and process it. And before putting it in, there is a yantra placed beneath that as well. And then only the stambha is included. And then the plating of brass or copper or even gold, like Tirupati and all has gold on it, depending on the resources. But ideally it has to be just a single, not ideally, it must be a single piece of wood. In Karnataka, they use single piece of stone as well. So this is the stambha. The stambha, the dwaja, why the flag is associated with that is, so many rituals are there because as we explain, we'll see so many devatas are there, so many rituals. 2-3 people cannot do that every day. So they have minimized it and say, crash puja. You do only this daily to keep up the energy of the space. But once in a year, for a week or 3 days, you have to do all the rituals for all the devatas. This is what they call as the Brahmotsavam. Brahmotsavam even today in the south is a public holiday, local holiday, so that people can come and immerse in that kshetra. So Dwaja, a flag, is hoisted on the start of the Brahmotsavam to indicate the kundalini of this kshetra is rising from its Mooladhara to its top. So there is a flag hoisting that happens, and for that period the flag stays there. On top of that you will see a Vahana. Vahana is the vehicle of the Devata. If it is Shiva, there is Nandi. If it is Shakti, there is lion. If it is Vishnu, there is Garuda. If it is Ganesha, Mushika. If it is Kartikeya, it is peacock, and so on.
Who decided these pairs and based on what?
Yes, that's a good question. I was going to go into the whole yogic aspect. Like if you want to become the Devata who is inside. See, Tattvamasi means you want to become that Devata. Now, how do I become that? Right? That's the natural question. Vahana means a vehicle. Vehicle to take you from where you are to that, what you want to become. So that's the Vahana, a vehicle. Vehicle could indicate so many things, but I will only take one aspect. These things are usually not spoken, so I'll just talk about one aspect which has already been written by the yogis. Breath. We have this whole nasal cycle happening. Right now, I am sitting, if I fold my left leg and keep my right leg down and keep my left leg folded, within a few seconds, the dominance of the breath in the right will be more than the left. After a few seconds, I just fold my right leg and put my left leg down. Within a few seconds, you will see the dominance of the breath will shift. The left will be more dominant when my left leg is down. This is something that is happening all the time, but to switch it, you need to change your posture a bit. The whole science of pranayama is based on that. By making your body and your hands into certain mudras, you are directing your prana to flow in a certain way. So yogi, the individual who wants to become the devata or make the devata take over him, has to become in tune with that kshetra. So how to become in tune? One of the ways is to have your prana aligned to that prana of the kshetra. How to align the prana? Breath is the easiest way to align your prana. So the way you align or you direct your breath, the prana will also get aligned accordingly. So breath is something that is very obvious for us. For example, Shiva temple has Nandi. Tirumular is one Siddha, Shaiva Siddha, disciple of Agastya Muni, who has written everything in great detail about the whole mechanics of the body, the nuts and bolts of this body and of the creation, and the yantras, how it needs to be created and all that. So he says, Edadagal Madaki Vadadagal Nitiye. That means, what he's referring to is, if the Nandi, you see, is folding its left leg and extended its right out, that means you have to walk in with your right nostril dominant so that you can be in sync with the Devata. That's why the yogis who come of a different nature, the maintenance of the temple is also totally different from the agamic temple. In an agamic temple, once in 12 years, you have to do punar pratishtha of the whole temple. You have to re-energize the whole space. You have to change the yantra inside. You have to change the deity's yantra inside. Ashtabandhana has to be changed. So many things have to be done because this is prana pratishtha of agamic nature. But if a yogi of a different caliber comes, They can just energize and go and doesn't need any Pratishtha. Doesn't need any re-energizing. Forever. No rituals needed. So that is of that kind.
So then all temples should, be energized in this manner. A live yogi coming, locking the energy so that the linga can, or that, entity can just live forever. Why do they consecrate a temple based on agamic ways if it needs a revival and a refurbishment of energy every 12 years?
Because such beings are rare to come by. So they gave methods where it's an agamic tradition. Anybody can get trained in 10 years, go through an apprentice and then create a temple. They just do the rituals and they know this is there. A yogi of such caliber coming is very rare. Why he is in a hurry to go on setting up things? Such beings don't come often. So as many possible, he wants to establish it now.
Can you give me some examples, Anna, of structures which are consecrated via the agamic ways and some structures where yogis have consecrated and that energy will live forever in those temples?
The Jyotirlingas are an excellent example for that. See how many times they have been demolished. They have just structurally rebuilt. You don't have to do Pratishtha there. They are anyway reverberating. Kedarnath doesn't have Kumbhabhishekam or anything. Let's see how powerful it is. So that's one example. The Shakti Sthals, Shakti Pitas are another example. These are naturally occurring where they have identified the feminine aspect nature of the energies and then they have added to it. We can say naturally occurring, whenever a yogi goes there, he adds one more of it, of his to that.
So these are already locational energetic insights provided by nature naturally. And then the yogi just amplifies that.
We can say, like in South America, they call this as vortices. Vortex of energies can occur in nature, like the Grand Canyons. These are places where the Native Americans come together. The Matotipila, they come together once in a year to do certain rituals and then go back because these are naturally occurring once. Here we established a structure so that more people can make use of. Otherwise, not everybody will be able to identify it.
I came across this example of a Shiva yogi by the name of Prabhakara Siddha yogi. He is supposed to have lived for 723 years and inhabit about 17 different bodies during the course of his lifespan. Which brings me to the concept of Nirmanakayas, Chiranjeevis and Kayakalpas. Very fascinating concept. Anna, can you please take us through this with examples?
Prabhakar Siddha Yogi, he mostly was sighted in Kerala.
Is this true, firstly, the
Yes,
story?
yes, his photograph is there.
But 723 years.
We don't know exactly, but many generations have seen him.
You think we can have evidence?
We can. People like Trailanga Swami of Kashi, Ramakrishna has seen him and many more people have seen. So at least 300 years. Trailanga Swami, according to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, was the walking Shiva of Kashi. So it is possible. It's just that why they choose to do that, only they know. Maybe to prove once in a while that these things are possible. Nirmanakaya is different. They stayed in the body and the body did have a beginning and an end. Nirmanakayas will recreate their body at will and dematerialize at will. So these are two different things. Chiranjeevis are people like Agastya Muni, for example. He has left his physical body somewhere, but he has decided to live on. That means in his pranic body or his subtle form, he is around. If needed, they will manifest and show themselves, but they are forever. That they don't have an end. Nirmanakayas will still have an end. It could be 10,000 years, 50,000 years, but it will still end. I mean, technically speaking. I don't know how they achieve it, but there are methods. Kayakalpa, it just means that Kaya means body, Kalpa means they have crystallized it or they have, attained to that Siddhi where they have made their body immortal. In Siddha tradition, Siddha means, when I say Siddha, the herbal Siddha tradition, there are Kayakalpa herbs. Today many people go hunting, but they don't know if that's the actual herb. They are trying physical immortality. That's not what they spoke about. It's an energy immortality. That you live at will, you can shed your body at will, so you can stay in that same state without going into the Pitru Loka. Once you go into the Pitru Loka, again you are pushed back into another birth. These people have escaped the whole cycle of samsara, birth and death. So once they have leaving the body, or before leaving the body, they have taken the Sankalpa that I will stay on and do this kind of work. So it's a conscious decision. Usually for a normal person, when they leave their body, the discriminatory mind also goes. So they don't have a choice anymore. They just get pulled by their tendencies. Whatever their karmic tendencies are, accordingly, either they go on to the Pitru Loka or hang around here, whatever happens. But these people have broken the code. So they know what it is. It's like the matrix. They have figured it out. Now they are one step above. So they stay on as long as they see it's necessary to do whatever work they have. and then they may move on or they can stay on. So this is different kinds. Chiranjeevi is like Hanuman, Ashwatthama, of course.
Mahavatar Babaji.
Mahavatar Babaji is called as a Nirmanakaya. So he also will have an end.
So he's already apparently been living for 2,000 years.
10,000 they say.
Mahavatar Babaji's been living for 10,000 years?
That's what they say. I mean, we don't know what
Physical body? In the physical body?
So that's what, they don't live as such. Nirmanakaya means they can build their body, right? So they exist. Now they have mastered the 5 elements of their system. Vallalar, for example, kept his whole body covered in white cloth. They say because he became transparent in between. People got scared, freaked out. What is this person like? It's a see-through body. Because his sadhana became so intense that his body started getting into that light body, they call. Light body is when your 5 elements have transmuted into something else called ojas. Ojas is that which can be taken away beyond the body. Right now when we die, our body leaves here, the mind goes here. For these people, they have transcended the limitations of the body and the energy system also by transmuting it into ojas. So ojas is said to be the light body. So why they get there, what is the purpose of it, only they will know. As you said, these many paths are there. Who chooses what? We don't know. It's like trying to get into a mind of a Siddha. We cannot. But the purpose is very evident. Mahavatar Babaji chose to do this. He has retained this form of a 20-year-old, and that's the form he has been appearing to give Diksha, to suddenly start off the whole Kriya path when it was declining for some time. So their role could vary for whatever purpose they are doing that. People like Vallalar and all, they have transmuted their physical and pranic system into ojas, the light body, so that, he is not coming back. He is like dematerialized. He is never seen again. He lived normally like 50, 52 something.
Acha.
And then he went into a room and said to close it, and then he said, don't open this. We know that he dematerialized because the British officer has recorded this in a gazette, that this guy went in and then we opened and saw and there was nothing inside. So then, because he himself said that I'm not going to come back, but don't open it thinking that, don't doubt what I'm saying. If you doubt, my grace won't be there. That's what is written and kept outside. But our people have opened and checked if he's there or not. He's not there. So after Dwaja Stambha, the Vahana comes. Vahana or the Bali Pitam. Bali Pitam is like, Bali means sacrifice, Pitam means platform. No sacrifice happens there, but you need to sacrifice your anger, jealousy, lust, ego, everything before you can go inside beyond this. Because with all that, you're not going to receive what that is. You cannot become that. So that's the Bali Pitam. Bali Pitam also represents the subtle form of the Vigraha that is inside. The Bali Pitam is empty. The Bali Pitam's level is where the Vigraha inside is in the Garbhagriha. But there the Vigraha stands. It could be a Linga or a Murti. Here there is nothing. But a subtle form, the energy form of that Murti is established here. So when they do the Naivedya, the offering of the food, they come out and do the offering here also on the Bali Pitam. So that is for the priest to do. But when we enter, we have to sacrifice all the emotions of all that, which is going to be a hurdle for us to experience or receive the insight. In some temples there will be a kurma or a turtle or a tortoise. Kurma, if you go near it, it will withdraw all its 4 limbs. Pratyahara. You have to withdraw you can't be thinking about your family, your work and all that when you walk in. You have to withdraw your senses. So that's what the turtle indicates. Kurma indicates. Kurma also in the yogic tradition, kurma is the nadi which connects your prana to your body. So if you can identify that, you have already identified the nature of the pratishtha inside. After that, the mandapa, then you come to the garbhagriha. So whatever offerings you have carried from outside, you give it to the acharya, the priest, Brahmin priest is there. The Brahmin priest receives it and you tell your name and gotra, nakshatra. Why do we say this? Because in the vast cosmic scape, we could have been born anywhere, but we are born in this particular place in New Delhi, in this particular time. That's what your nakshatra and gotra and the name. So your geo coordinates you are giving there. You are mentioning so and so has come, your attendance. That's what when you give your name and gotra and nakshatra to the priest. He goes inside and does whatever ritual he has to do. You are supposed to stand there and have darshana or see, behold what is there inside and create a sankalpa. It's not prayer, this is sankalpa. Sankalpa means creating an intent. In this culture, any ritual that you do, always there is a sankalpa. Sankalpa lena is the first step in any ritual because without intent, what are you going to do? Which direction are you going to go? So make that decision first. So You know this, when you take a Sankalpa, you're already discarded all the thoughts and you become one-pointed and you're saying, this is what I want to happen. If I go there and stand with my scattered thoughts, God, I want this job, but
I want to get married. I want
married, but that girl, no, she's not okay. Maybe this girl is okay. This is scattered thoughts. But a Sankalpa is, this is the person that I want to get married to. That's a single thought. And it's an intent. Now, will that immediately happen?
And can that happen?
Can that happen? So, am I the higher intelligence or the devata the higher intelligence?
Exactly. And why will I be the special person? There are so many other people. Na?
Exactly.
And ऐसे तो कोई गम होने ही नहीं चाहिए दुनिया में like this है ना. Everyone goes to the temple. Everyone's not coming back joyfully.
Yes. So, this is whole example of, in quantum physics, quantum mechanics, they use this aspect, this experiment called double slit experiment. Still baffles scientists because they don't know why a particle behaves sometimes as a wave and sometimes as a particle. And they have found if there is an observer, it behaves differently. They still don't know why. So this much we know that an observer or no observer decides the way the reality changes. So in a darshana, how you pay attention to something will change the reality of what's happening between you and the energy form.
Can you give us one technique for the viewer to fulfill their sankalpa?
What I usually would suggest, first thing in the morning, before we even pick up our phone, is when we are not all over the place. That's one thing that I always do, and I tell people also. First thing, just sit with 5-10 minutes, eyes closed, and just be aware of how the breath is happening. Because my grandfather always used to tell, before you put the foot to the ground from the cot, you have to see which side is dominant.
Yeah.
Because accordingly, your day is going to be. So you wait for the shift before you step out. During that time, you create that this is what I want in my life. First, of course, gratitude for all that I have. As my guru says, you're grateful that you woke up. Many people did not even wake up. So gratitude, and also what do I want for myself and for the family, immediate family, and for the world. This tone, if we set, we won't go into this very small circle of this is what I want. You're also looking at other things for other people. First thing in the morning, whatever time, earlier the better, but first thing, creating that thought, setting the tone for that day so that everything aligns along that. So inside the Garbhagraha, the Vigraha that is there, beneath is the Yantra. Yantra is the usually half of 6-inch plate standard, but sizes could vary. Inscribed with geometric patterns for that particular devata. The whole science of cymatics. Cymatics is the sound and the form relationship. The sound is the mantra and the form is the yantra. So Acharya, a Brahmin priest, energizes a yantra. It takes 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, depending upon the nature of the pratishtha. They will energize that. Uchadana of the mantra continuously, non-stop happens, and they energize this yantra, and then it is placed beneath, and then the vigraha is placed on top, and the Ashtabandhana is done. This is during the Pratishtapana process. And even that yantra, after 12 years, has to be replaced. So they'll remove the vigraha and then replace it during the Pratishtapana. So this is we can say, the heart of this whole kshetra. This is what makes the whole space reverberate in a certain way. Of course, there are other elements which we'll talk about, but this is the heart of it. This is the purpose for which I'm going into a temple. The purpose of, let's say, my fear has to go, my depression has to go. That is what emanates that which will clear my depression or my fear. So that's what the Pratishtapana is. When I am there at the Garbhagraha, I should not close my eyes. I have to see, I have to perceive, I have to behold what is there inside. The whole alankara that has been done with elaborate nature, seeing that, and then whatever is being given out, because there is a continuous recitation of mantras happening inside and the yantra's presence, the water which is inside has become the tirtha. The fruit which is kept inside has become a prasad. And whatever there, you want that to become a part of you. So when they give, you receive the water, the tirtha, and imbibe, ingest it. The flower, keep it in your ear. The gents keep it in the ear, or women keep it in their hair. Prasad, you eat it, ingest it. In some way, you want to become that. That's what a commoner does. For a yogi or an aspiring yogi, they sit there to meditate. So immediately they don't allow you to sit. So you can circumambulate. So why circumambulation? The whole, at least the solar system, as we understand, in a smaller scale, because galaxies we don't know. Solar system, everything is going clockwise, the motion of it. So it is said that even the Agamas, the Stapadis I spoke to, they said that if a temple is constructed in the southern hemisphere, maybe we will go anti-clockwise in the temple. But because there are no temples built, we don't know. Then you come and sit in the mandapa with eyes closed. Now you close eyes and visualize that imprint of that, whatever you saw. Because we don't know what the energy of it is, you at least try to visualize the vigraha, the form of it. Because the form is the same reverberation of the yantra, the sound form relationship. How the vigraha has to be made is explained in great detail in the agamas. The stapati, the sculptor, shilpi we call, cannot use his creative imagination there. He can use it in the pillars outside and all the other things. But here, he has to stick to it. How detailed it goes. The distance from the eye to the eyebrow, it has to be of a certain, the measurement of it. And
Why so much detail?
because that's the sound. The sound, whatever it creates, throws up, is what the form has to be. See, this stage is called as Rithambara Pragna. That means whatever the reverberation of that particular form, the rishis can hear the sound of it. And that sound they gave as the mantra. So conversely, when they have a mantra, whatever that mantra creates, throws out the form, has to be created in the exact same way. There you cannot make changes. Then there will be off sync between the reverberation and the form. So inside the Garbhagriha, if you so and look up, it will be a hollow space. So it's actually the hollow space which is acting as the main yantra. If you see a cross section of it, the cross section of it, it's actually like a linga or a form. So the yantra is what is creating that whole thing, and top of that a kalasha is kept, which is in connect with the cosmic. So this is a constant thing that's happening. When the priest sits there and does his nyasa, or touching his different parts of the body and creates the mudra, he is in connect with the cosmic and transfers it to the vigraha. This is a daily ritual. 6 times he has to do it in a day, ideally. Of course, the grace is an important factor in everything that we do. Unless grace happens, be it whichever, your Kula Devata's grace, your Pitru's grace, your Guru's grace, without grace, nothing happens. So that element has to be brought in. So preparation, Hatha Yoga, which is for the body. For the mind, we don't do much because we never gave importance to the mind, because our pranic system itself is supposed to take care of that. So pranayama, kriyas, of course, energy, working with the energies. This is important. At least some kriya everybody should do to make use of these kshetras in a very effective way.
Okay. I want to understand what are the kind of offerings that should be offered when we are in a temple, because each offering is connected to the vibration of that particular deity. Is that correct?
Yes.
So please tell me about this.
So the size of the murti, the mantra that is recited there, the sthala vriksha, the tree that is inside, what offerings we have to take, everything has been specified in the agamas. One cannot change that, okay, I like this flower, let me take that and go. No. So Vishnu temple, you take tulsi mala. If you Shiva temple, you take Vilva Patra. If it is Ganapati, you take the Darba Dhruva grass. Like this, every temple in the agamas, even the way of worship and how the devotee should go has been in detail given. So when we go to a temple, if it's a regular temple that we go, it's better to talk to the Brahmin priest and get to know how should I come into this temple. Because as I said, millions of temples, each temple will have its own customs and traditions. And the offerings that is given, you either consume it there or take it home. People wonder what to do with the malas and this and that. 24 hours you keep it next to you in the bed maybe, because you want something which has been in touch with the Pratishthit Murti to be with you. Next day you can just put it in a tree, under the tree where people don't step on it.
Okay. What is the significance of milk or ghee or any of these offerings?
When a shilpi is the sculptor, finishes his sculpting, you have seen the raw sculpted rocks, the statues, right? It's still like that granite feel is there.
Right.
The first thing, they will apply oil to it and black soot to it to make it look how the vigrahas are looking. So this combination, I'm just saying these two things, but there are many more things that are done. Processes that are involved. They soak it in water for a few days or months and then bury it in paddy for a few months. So Jaladivasam it is called, this process. It has to go through all that for cleansing, because just imagine how many hits that vigraha has gone through from the sculptor's chisel and hammer. That's not the reverberation we want. So you want to remove all that from it. So Jaladivasam and all that process is all gone through. And then these things are applied to it, oil, ghee. But this has to be done every day so that the fat is absorbed into the granite and it stays forever. Otherwise it will become brittle. If you have this granite, if you've seen steps and everywhere, it will start chipping after a few years. Because that's the natural process of disintegration of a rock. You don't want a vigraha, which is pratisthit, to be damaged or binna. If Bhinna means like even a smallest nail of the statue breaks, they'll have to change the whole Vigraha. So you want the shape to be retained. So one thing is to apply fat, whichever material which is fat.
That's why they keep doing that. The milk is
One of
kept
the
getting
reason.
poured repeatedly
Yes,
for that reason.
ghee and milk and the panchamrita,
Right.
honey, fruits and all that. But the whole Abhisheka itself has rituals which list all these things. Panchapachara puja, the 5 items that should be bathed, the Vigraha should be bathed with.
A vast majority of Indians, about 81% of the Indians, have reported having some kind of a shrine or an altar or a temple in their homes. I think what the viewers would really like to know from you, Anna, is that how does one build a temple at home the correct way? नहीं तो Indians के साथ है ना कुछ भी कैसे भी, you can just make any structure in any corner of the house, give it anything or not give it anything, and you are just content कि you have, some sacred space. But that may not be the ideal thing. So can you please tell us about it?
So first let's start with the construction of the house itself. Because as we were looking at the construction of a temple, same applies here as well. The same agamas talk about how a site for a house should be selected and how it should be built. Because when we say house, this material, the cement, brick, mud and all that has been in various places has been brought together, and this is what it is. Wherever this was sitting for millions of years as a rock or a mud, it must have imbibed so much memory of whatever was happening around it, good or bad, we don't know. But this is a cacophony of reverberation that's around us. It's not conducive for us to live. So first thing to be done is Vastu Shuddhi Puja. This is what they do on a Graha Pravesham, on the housewarming ceremony. The first thing, it could be Satyanarayan Puja or Ganapati Havan, whatever it is. First thing is to Vastu Shuddhi, to blast off all the memory that it holds from various different places and to imbibe the right kind of reverberation that we want. And you would also notice this, somebody comes into your space and then goes, you feel drained.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that person maybe, but it does happen because you don't have the Parivara Devatas, you don't have the Ashtadikpalas and all that as a temple has for your protection. In your house, you are an open, vulnerable being. When you go to home, it's like, it's home. Right? Because you can be unguarded. There is no guards, there is nothing there. How a gopuram is the threshold, entry for the temple, the main door of your house is the threshold. So when the construction of the threshold itself, even today they follow this. They will place a yantra at the wooden frame of the house. I don't know if they do it in the north, but south, every house, they sell in the construction shop itself. Not that it's consecrated, just a yantra printed in a copper plate. They will come and put that and then place the thing. But ideally, you have to get it energized and then place it beneath the thing. So this acts as the energy filter. So now, Siddhas and yogis through the Vastu signs and the agamas have devised, at least let this be a space where you will be safe energy wise. So that energy thing, that's why in the entrance we put up these mango leaf, thoran, we put positive pranic substances, yantra in the entrance, spatikam, a rock piece, or these things are all done so that that energy filter is intact. When you go out and come, many things you would have imbibed. Many beings would have followed you. You want everything to stop there.
When you say beings, meaning you these disembodied beings.
Yeah, we don't know what we are gathering, right? We have people follow. We will have disembodied people also
but
follow.
That happens?
Yeah, all the time. If we are not consciously living, if we are scattered all over the place, we will draw all these forces unnecessarily. Especially people who are meditators, people who are on the yogic path, will have to create that integrity with their body. Otherwise, you are going to draw all kinds of forces. Because you are an invocation yourself. You are trying to become one with the cosmic. That means you're trying to open yourself up. That means you don't have a God. So few things like wearing the malas and all that works, but consciously, every moment of your life you need. So the moment you step in, first thing in the ancient days, you always wash your hands and feet outside before coming. In apartments, you can't do that. At least first thing you go and wash your hands and feet. Splash water on your head at least. And then come. Because you don't want any negativity to enter this threshold of your house. Similarly, first thing in the morning when you open, because 8-10 hours you have not opened this door. There is a tamas, there is an inertia which develops outside the door. There could be other forces also waiting, we don't know. So when you open first thing in the morning, you always utter something auspicious, Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, something. And then you open and then sprinkle water. First thing in those days, it was earth. They always splashed water, cow dung paste, all that they applied. Living in apartments, you may not be able to do it, at least sprinkle water. Water has such a capacity to imbibe the intent of the person holding it, that you want to cleanse it, that's what you're doing, and it'll serve the purpose, it'll cleanse it. So just at least sprinkling and not making it wet, that much we can do to set that part. Coming to having a shrine at home, Because when I'm talking about the whole house being a temple, why do we need a shrine? Because we need a support system within the house, an energy connect, which is like a temple, which is outside. We may not be able to go daily to the temple. You are a fortunate being if you're living just near a temple. Even today, I see people daily, first thing they go to the temple and only then they start their day. They are fortunate people, but we may not have that kind of luxury. So you have a small miniature. If you can get a yantra which is consecrated, nothing like it. Otherwise, just lighting a lamp. Lamp can be lit with sesame oil or ghee oil. Ghee. These two, ghee will bring wealth and prosperity. Sesame is for all purpose, spiritual and other cleansing stuff. Even rooms which are not being used, guest rooms and all, you should have always, at least weekly once, you should light a lamp. Otherwise, tamas starts building up and it's not good as a space where you are living in. You may not be living in that space, but you are part of that household. So it's always better to have a lamp lit. Take care of the curtains and, pets and all that. Of course, those are, dangerous things to have lamps and a pet which jumps around. Those things should be taken care of, but that will take care of the tamasic, removal of the tamasic nature in a household. Another thing you can do, this is always the grandmother's wisdom, that Fridays is the auspicious day for a house. Thursday evening itself, you should finish all the cleaning. And Friday, either morning or evening, you do a kind of a fire bath for your house. Light a camphor in the thing, start from the threshold and then go clockwise along the wall and then end it there. You can put the fire outside if possible. If not, just let it there, let it burn out by itself. There is another thing that you can do. This is called Mubbali in Tamil. This is 3 sacrifices using lemon, coconut and ash god. In the tradition they say, when Adi Shankaracharya came, it's still debatable which century he came, but when he came, he saw that lots of sacrifices happening and he wanted to replace it, give an alternate solution to it. So he said, if the right kind of rituals are done with lemon, then it will be equivalent to doing a rooster sacrifice. If you do the right kind of rituals with coconut and then you break it, it will be like sacrificing a goat. And an ash god, if you do the right kind of rituals and then break it, it's like doing a human sacrifice. So that's the kind of effectiveness that he equates it to. So in a house, you can do that, take a lemon around and then cut it and then put it out. Coconut also you can do if you can break it outside, otherwise have a stone and then break it. Ash god also similarly, you can do that and then break it. So these things can be done to, this is to not only remove the negativity, it also enhances the positivity, the prana of the place, because you're actually sacrificing. You're giving a sacrifice to enhance the prana in the house. So any negativity which is aimed at you, black magic or any intention that way, these are all taken care of by this. This is once in a week or at least on an Amavasya or Purnami. This should be done with an intent. No mantras, nothing needed. If you know any mantras, you can always do that along with that, no harm. Without that also, it still works. And shrine, when people ask me how to, just don't make it in such a way that you have to sit facing south. Any other direction is okay. But if you're too much into Vastu and all, you can always do the necessary reading from somebody and then see which corner you want. Ideally, according to me, that is more of a supportive space for you rather than you getting influenced by it. It's just there. When you go into that space, naturally you go into that meditative space or that wherever, when you go to a temple, how you feel. So maintaining that space for that. Don't make too much complication with that. First thing in the morning when you take bath, you go there, light a lamp with a certain intent. I always suggest people, when you light the lamp, think of your Kuldevi, Devata, whoever it is, and then light the lamp.
How should one conduct the temple ritual in their home?
This is a miniature version of what somebody does in a temple. Of course, it's not as elaborate or agamic, but purity, physical purity, take bath and then cook. Even today, traditional homes in India, woman takes bath and only then goes into the kitchen. That's like a very big thing if they even enter without taking bath.
In North India, it's quite normal.
In South, it's going away.
Okay.
But yeah, you would have seen in movies and all, with the hair tied with the cloth only, the woman enters the house. And so in a temple, the priest only cooks the Naivedya in the Agni corner of the temple. There is a separate thing where he will not allow anybody else to touch that things because it's going to be fed to the deity. So here we should maintain that kind of purity and intent also, because so the smell of the food you should not inhale. When in the temple, when they bring the Naivedya, they'll announce Naivedya, Naivedya, so everybody will move away. They should not smell it before it goes into the Garbhagriha to be offered.
Why?
See, this is something that I've noticed in the US and in youngsters, my nephews and nieces. You smell the food before eating.
Yeah.
We will get a whack when, as a kid, if you do that. It's a big no culturally. You should not smell something before eating. This is basic norm. If you go on asking why, then I'll have to come up with the reason. But the thing is, the deity which is sitting within you is going to be the devata whom you are going to feed. We'll come to the puja room, puja shrine in the home, but from a temple, the devata you are feeding. Here, the Paramatma that is sitting inside you is what you are going to feed. The physical me should not start smelling it before it goes in. You bow down to it and then you offer it there and then you eat it. So, even in a temple, when the Naivedyam is being brought to the devata, they will send people away from that whole pathway. So they'll close the gates and all that because they don't want people to. The moment you smell, it's like you already touched and ate and kept there. So on specific days, specific devatas are prominent. Accordingly, they have special dishes also. Ganesha means he likes modak. Like that, we have lots. So you can prepare that, offer it to them, and then you can consume.
Okay. Any specific offerings that we should offer on a day-to-day basis?
Day to day, if you don't have anything, they say just offer good, jaggery piece. Important thing, randomly do not pick up deity idols and then get it blessed and start doing pujas to
Yeah.
it. If you're doing, they say that ideally it should be less than 5 inch. Beyond 5 inch, then you have to do according to the agamic ones. If it's in the bronze or that category.
Silver.
Silver, bronze, all these panchalokas, everything, if you do, then it starts actually invoking the devatas into that. Then you will have to stick to that whole agamic ritual. If you don't, then it's going to cause. There are families where the grandfather was doing regular pujas and all that to saligrams and he passed away without giving instructions. Suddenly the family is going through all kinds of, business failed, this thing happening, that debt happening. Then somewhere they went and said, do you have a saligram which was being worshipped? And said, yes, please bring it, give it to a temple or put it in a river. Because these things will become receding forces if you don't keep it up. So before starting such regular serious things, offering the Panchapachara puja and all that, discuss with the guru or acharya, can I keep this deity there and what all should I do to keep it up? Because you can't randomly start doing something and when you are doing it, it's all going fine. But after you culturally, when you wake up and taking bath, this first thing is emptying. People, this is something that is not spoken about culturally. In Siddha and Ayurveda, if you go to any practitioner for some ailment, first thing they will ask, are you emptying properly?
Yeah.
Because this is what causes all the ailments. Not just physical, even mentally also. So if you are going to go have a devata at home or even doing any practices, first thing is having your system prepared in such a way that you can do these practices properly. So emptying has to be taken. These days lots of things are there about diet and nutrition and all that.
Yeah.
Bath, twice a bath, definitely better.
Twice a day bath.
Yes. And
In the morning and second?
evening, when you come back home, because you're going out, you don't want all that thing to. And in the bath, it's always better to catch it in a tub, bucket, and then take bath because water has memory, it goes through all the pipes and turns and things. You want it to rest for some time before putting it on you. Put a pinch of vibhuti or turmeric into it and then take bath. It also helps in cleansing the aura in some way. If you have access to fresh neem leaves, then you can take a bunch, handful, and then put it in the water and then take bath. If you're doing that, then let it rest for half an hour and then you can take bath. And then immediately lighting a lamp, doing your sadhana. If you have not been initiated, at least some Nama Japa. Initiated sadhana is always better. But Nama Japas they can do. You just Google for Ganapati what is there, Bhairava. Nama Japas they can do. That is good to start with because the guidance will come through the devatas. Whom they need to go to also will be guided. This I have seen in many people's lives. They start doing Nama Japa, it will guide them to who they need to get initiated from.
Any other rituals, Anna, that you can suggest which can energize a home?
Yeah, see, usually people do a yagna when the housewarming ceremony happens. We explain the purpose, just to blast off the memory that is there and infuse the right kind of energy. But after that, people don't do anything. So at least once in 6 months, or once in a year at least, if you can do a Satyanarayan Puja or a Ganapati Homam done, it will be definitely beneficial. Because people come, go, you are going through different emotions and situations at home, everything stays. The ether of the house retains that, the walls retain that. You want that to go so that it's a fresh start every time. So one of the yagnas definitely will be good to perform in a day-to-day basis. If you're really into it and if you're a dynamic person interacting with society and you want hurdles to drop off, Agnihotra is a practice that you can do either weekly or even daily. Toxins of that nature, which is physically toxin, Bhopal gas tragedy happening, this Brahmin family who survived, this is a house where they were continuously doing morning and evening Agnihotra puja, the toxins did not affect them. So they survived it. So physically itself that they have, but they have done research on what's the change in the atmosphere, the air, when you burn these specific substances in a room. Of course, they can manually measure the physical aspects. We know the whole energy aspect of it as well. There are short forms that are available. There is Agnihotra organization who are doing it. So they have a kit and everything, copper small yagna thing. Nowadays, you can buy cow dung cake and samagri, everything on Amazon. So it comes and then these mantras are there, 2-3 lines, and you can recite that and then do. I don't do the mantras, but I burn this and then use it for doing the frankincense throughout the house, sambrani.
Okay.
So weekly once I just do that. Makes a big difference for the energy of the house.
Acha. So samrani once a day is good enough.
Once a day or at least once a week on Fridays.
Okay. You speak about us and all these beings going to the Pitru Loka. So after the Bhuloka, we all go to the Pitru Loka?
Garuda Puran talks in great detail about the different lokas that are there. And how this Bhuloka, as we know it, is not just one. There are multiple verses as well.
Multiple Bhulokas.
Yes. So how they say, like similar to this, there are 7 lokas itself. As we are talking, in 7 lokas, there is one Prem and Shloka sitting and talking. Like this, there are many.
Like the parallel universe that is colloquially spoken of. Okay.
Yeah. So we don't know about that. It's just mentioned that way. But Garuda Purana specifically is gone to for Pitru karmas and karyas. So they say there are so many levels that a soul or a being passes through when they depart from the body before they can reach the Pitru Loka. They say it depends on the kind of punyas that he or she has done when he or she was alive. How much annadanam they did, how much, karma, the Pitru karmas they did. All this will matter after they leave the body. They say there are a river which is burning, oil running. To cross that, you should have done a Godana here. All that. There are many things that are done.
Vaitharni river, no? Vaitharni river.
Vaitharni, yes. So like this, many things are mentioned in the process of the soul. So when a person leaves the body, 13 to 16 days, the whole house is in mourning. If it's cremated, then the ash is brought and kept in the house with the lamp lit and photo is there. They'll invite priests and then chant necessary mantras from the Garuda Purana for the soul to proceed wherever they need to proceed. These things are done because somebody has written it down. Otherwise, nobody went and saw what is happening to this being. So we just go by a theory part of it and we trust that this happens. When do we know that it did not happen? There'll be lots of signs and omens in the family that people start seeing the disembodied person as the physical body because they still haven't progressed. They're still hanging around because unfulfilled desires, tendencies, vasanas, which are holding them down. That's why in the tradition they say when somebody is in their deathbed, especially in a room that they are, keep a lamp lit and keep asking them, is there any unfulfilled desires you have? Can I fulfill it for you? Even if they are not able to hear, if they are in their coma, still they ask them to repeat this into their ears because somewhere this being has to come to this state that no, there is nothing for me. If this is not fixed when they are alive, after they are gone, they'll simply hang around, not knowing what they want. You ask what are the desires that they want? We don't know. They are like, because of tendencies, they just hang around. Specifically, if you want to know, you can do Prashnam. Through Prashnam, they will tell you this being is asking for this kind of thing. Somewhere something needs to be done. You go and do that, then they are ready to go. So a few years ago, I saw this article, a scientific journal thing where it said humans and crows shared a common ancestor 1 million years ago. So somewhere this jump is there genetically. That much scientists have seen. But this grandmother knowledge is always there, as your grandfather said. Yeah. My grandmother, even my mother, every day when they cook, first they will feed the crow. We will have to wait and see till the crow has its first bite or peck. We are supposed to not touch our food. So why? Because ancestors have to be fed. This is something ingrained. We never thought anything about it. But now it is becoming a big thing that, Pitru, Karyas and Karmas. So yes, not just in our culture. Even Native Americans, they have this about their ancestors coming in the form of coyote or ravens is there. About the cows, snakes and crows, they say that they are energy-wise so evolved that if they are around a kshetra and if they encounter the right beings, then the next birth will be human, which is a huge jump.
And which can't happen, no, I think.
I mean, it is said that these three beings have that, these three animals have that capability. So that means what? They are close to the energy system of human beings. So they need to be revered because they also have the possibility that we have. Crows have always been held in that way as Pitrus. And after the scientific journal that I saw, okay, they are discovering this much now, but we have always known this. It's a very integral part of our thing, feeding the crows, especially as considering them as Pitrus. Now the question comes, what if they have already moved on to the Pitru Loka and born in some other body? Whom am I going to do the ritual?
Correct.
So there is this aspect within us. See, they have given some aspect to us and gone. When we are doing a ritual for them, we are doing it for ourselves. That space
So it's a psychological reality, right?
Energy-wise, physically itself, you are holding physical aspects of your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, and them. So physically also you are holding, energy-wise also you are holding, genetically also you are holding, right?
But genetic would be a part of the energy body, right?
It is. The whole DNA strand is what the Kundalini symbolism is, isn't it?
But that's a part of the physical body, isn't it? Genetic.
Yeah, but it's part of the energy system also, I'm saying.
Okay.
So you are holding from energy to the physical aspect, you have inherited many things from the ancestors, right? You still hold it. So whether they are physically there, physically you have seen them or not, doesn't matter. They are living within you, from physical to energy.
Their tendencies, you mean?
No, I'm saying aspect itself, the amsa of it. See, when they say, oh, you look like your mother, maybe it's great-grandmother that she inherited from, or 7-8 generations back, we don't know. It's not just the physical I'm saying. Even energy-wise, you still hold some aspect of her. So that aspect of her will get appeased only if you do Pitru Karya for that aspect of the ancestor. That ancestor may have moved on to another body. But when you do the ritual, you are benefiting from it. Because by doing for them, you're doing it for yourself.
So Anna, other than Pitru dosha, what are some of the other doshas that we can tackle? And there are rituals of those. So we've heard of Kalsarpa dosha, for example, Naga dosha. Right? Can you tell me about the doshas?
So, in a horoscope, in a chart, based on the time they are born and the family they are born in my family, I have noticed this, that when for some reason they removed the Naga thing and put it in the ocean. This is in 1980s, something they did. After that, every child that was born had the Naga dosha in them.
In your family?
Yes. In the shrine, the deity, the Vigraha that was there, and stopped worshipping the Nagas because somebody thought snake worship is not good. And this pattern we observed till 2014-15, when we suddenly why everybody is having this Naga doshas? One thing, we go to the astrologer for some reason, right? So whenever the marriage gets delayed, they go and they say, no, this person has Sarpa dosha. Why everybody is having Sarpa dosha?
Exactly.
Then we did Prashnam. Only then it came up because for individual horoscopes, you can ask the astrologer. But the whole pattern will be known only when a Prashnam is done. So in that it came up that because in your Kuladevata temple, this Naga worship was happening and somebody took and we asked the parents, the elders and said, we didn't want snake worship, so we removed it. So how it connects and influences these things. So how it can be fixed.
So how do I know if I have a Naga dosha or a Sarpa dosha? I'm not talking about the chart. How do I know if it's influencing my life or not? Because apparently I have a Kalsarpa dosh, Anna, but till date there's been nothing which has felt like a dosha in my life,
So it could be dampened because of other grahas influence also. So, the 4th house, 5th house, what sees what, all that matters. It's not like just because you have, it will affect.
Got it.
So maybe that's why you escaped that. But how it will show up, one thing is relationships, how it happens, you will know it. Something is going wrong. Both are trying to make it work, but something is, friction is happening. Business, suddenly, whatever efforts you put in, it's not going well. Marriage, not happening. That will show up. So these three are the main things. People who have Naga dosha or Sarpa dosha. See, Nagas and Sarpas, to make the distinction, Nagas are the evolved beings. Sarpas are the snake ones. So if you kill a snake, you will have Sarpa dosha. Naga dosha, I'm just reducing it to the basic thing, but it's more to it. Nagas are beings which you worship, and these are the enshrined ones. Physically, what you see, they refer to as Sarpas, and the beings which have said to have influenced the evolution of human beings, or the Nagas. They are always placed outside the temple because they are strict about cleanliness. To maintain a Naga cow, In Kerala, every house used to have a Naga cow. So small foresty kind of thing, and one snake idol would get, or just a stone. Only once a month they will go in and do turmeric and milk offering to it. So people who have this, they can go to such temples and then they can do the needed rituals. They can offer those silver snakes or small eggs. This is how in Nagarkoil they do. Or they can get it done by somebody else also.
Another concept that comes to fore is something that predates the Vedas. It's the concept of Kula Devatas, Grama Devatas, and I don't know if there are any other kind of local deities. A lot has been surrounding them because they're supposed to be this unrefined energy. They're not proper. And even the kind of offerings that are made are very tamasic in nature. For example, I had a podcast with one of the former priests of the Chamundi temple. He says, I have my mutton in the morning at 6 o'clock. And a proper yogi, and I had that beautiful vibrance to him. Like those 4 hours, I don't know how it passed. And what my job was in the morning, Bali Dena to the Chamundi temple. And I'm like, Bali Dena, and you're a yogi? And he was like, so what? So tell me about this.
So yeah, this again will be a lot of debate around this about even animal sacrifice. One basic difference between an agamic temple and this is an agamic temple has to be created from scratch, and then finally stapana. Pratishtha happens, where you are instilling or giving birth. In many places, it's like removing the eye blindfold of the devata. In some places, they will chisel and open the eye symbolically. This is how the Pratishtapana and Agama. In the Grama Devatas, all you have to do is go to an already existing Grama Devata, take a handful of mud and say, Amma, come with me, go and install in wherever you want, and she's there. This is not psychological. You are cloning the Devata already, just like this. You need to give a sacrifice, create that whole energy burst that happens, keep the brick or mud or whatever you brought from there and say, you come here also. They will clone. Invoking these devatas. So the devatas that Grama devatas, what we are referring to, are beings that are already existing, which are an Amsa of Shiva or Vishnu or Devi, who are enshrined in that particular space or invoked in that particular space. They can be invoked anywhere. If you want, you can invoke them here also. But then you need to have the elaborate chicken, mutton offering before they come. The right ambience has to be created and you can create them. You cannot invoke a Vaidyanadeshwara or Vaitishwara here because he's an agamic devata, bound by space. Grama devatas are not bound by space and they are said to be closer to the earthly plane as compared to the paradevatas. When I say paradevatas, they're the agamic devatas. They are closer to the earthly plane. That means, let's say I have a land dispute with my neighbor. I can just go and offer liquor, cigar and a chicken and say, please take care of this. This person has been deceiving me or doing whatever dispute. Please take care of this. Now the question comes, what if that person also goes and offers the same thing? Who will get the benefit? Now these Grama Devatas stand for justice and righteousness. So they will not go whichever side that's being offered. They'll only stand for whatever is right. So justice providers, that's how they were seen. And that's what the village people needed. They wanted their crops to grow well, they want their children to grow well, they want these kind of disputes to go away, and that's what these Grama Devatas catered to. If you want little more sophistication of mukti, liberation, other things, then you go to Paradevatas or the Agamic temple. And these are very tangible. As you said, they are raw. They are very, like you go there, you can feel it. It's like your hairs will stand. That's how the space will be. No elaborate structures will be there, but you can feel that.
Anna, you've been a monk or a brahmachari, and this conversation feels very different, It's coming because, I've done a lot of these, and the presence is very different. I want to know about what made you become a brahmachari, what got you to then not become a brahmachari, and what was that period like experientially for you?
It was very intense life. Because I came from a certain traditional background, my great-grandfather had attained to Jiva Samadhi. We still have his Guru Samadhi. The first episode of Sadhguru Sri Brahma starts from there because he was initiated by Sadhguru Sri Brahma. Because of that traditional background, and I could connect many things that he was doing. Those days, nothing was traditional about him. Only now, after last 2010 onwards, I think we'll be going into specifics to reveal all those. But after Devi came is when he became all ritualistic and, setting up at least. But I could see the whole pattern of an accomplished Siddha doing the kind of work that he was doing. When I used to talk to people and all, they're like dismissing me, you're just imagining things, stuff. But because of that, my devotion and involvement was 100% right from beginning because I knew I've arrived at the feet of somebody who's an accomplished Siddha.
Prem Anna, I cannot thank you enough. This has been such a wisdom-packed conversation, and I'm sure there's a lot of takeaway and lots of inspiration. Mostly, I think we do these kind of sessions to inspire people to come in yoga, and this is only a medium to make that happen. So thank you so much for having such a detailed conversation, and really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me, and being a sadhaka yourself, the kind of questions was really not just academic questions. I think you asked it in the right context and flow that it happened.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Namaskaram.
Shloka, for having.
Thank
Namaskar.
you.
In case you'd like to be a part of our online and in-person yoga, diet and spiritual programs, you can join our WhatsApp group below, where we post all our upcoming programs and give free tips on health, diet and lifestyle.